Welcome back, y'all. We're sitting here with Kevin Perry from CSF Live from the SHOT Show. And let me tell you something. Once it's live, you can't take it back. It's just live. So, man, y'all got a lot of cool things happening, man. Tell us a little bit about it. How you doing, Kevin?
We do. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, the Congressional Sportsmen Foundation, 35 years last year. Our work is mostly focused on policy for hunters, anglers, shooters, and trappers.
Yeah.
It started in the U.S. Congress, and now it's expanded to all 50 states. We work on about 400 pieces of legislation a year, maintain relationships with about 2,500 congressmen and state officials and wildlife agencies and the administration. So, it takes a big team to kind of do that, and a lot of support, and we get a tremendous amount of support from the industry partners in this building, and so we always like to show up and support them whenever we can too. So
that's right.
That's it. But it's an organization that is, hunters and anglers for hunters and anglers. So everybody in the office likes to get out there and get after it. And I don't know. I think
y'all are, in my opinion, y'all doing God's work, because I've been to Washington D.C. a few times. I frankly didn't like it. Like, it was weird. It was awkward to navigate, and I think a lot of your, like me, growing up as a traditional licensed buyer. I mean, I understand about the Pittman Act of giving back to our game and fish departments and stuff. I knew that at a pretty young age that we were doing some of that stuff. But people don't realize, if it wasn't for organizations like y'all put together to have a voice to handle the political side, because all of a sudden you can have a certain ideology sweep over all the politics, Congress, the senators, even up as high as sometimes the president. So you guys are fighting that fight for us.
Yeah, I'll tell you something that might shock you is elected officials are not always experts on all the things that they have
no way. Maybe some trading at times.
Yeah, so
I got the Nancy Pelosi
out. They're not always experts.
Yeah.
And so, with our organization and several other partners and organizations like ours, we can be those experts. And so,
yes.
A lot of times when a bill hits the floor or something comes up, somebody in our office is getting a call and say, hey, where do you guys stand on this? And they may not understand the nuances of how it impacts, conservation funding or hunting access or any of those things. And then we can actually engage with those elected officials or their staffs in a lot of cases and say, hey, this might sound good, but here's how it's actually going to play out, right? And help solve those things. So, the good news is, I think we have trust of elected officials and a lot of the agencies as well, the appointed officials, and their trust of us as an organization. We're able to provide a sound voice of, here's how it's going to impact the hunters and the anglers in the field and that kind of stuff. So that is a big part of what we do, and we've built a pretty solid reputation in D.C. and in the state houses.
Absolutely, and y'all bringing truth. It's like I said, what y'all bringing is really not. It's not hard to. It's not like you have to have the defense. It's really an offense to be able to say, here's who we represented. And Kevin, you ever find that sometimes even in these states and some of these congressmen and senators, they're not even aware of the amount of hunter and fishermen that buy license. Like take a state like Pennsylvania, for instance. You have arguably up to right at 1 million licensed hunters, not just fishermen. And do y'all ever find occasion when y'all talk to them, or do they know pretty well?
I think the ones from a lot of the states that are more of your outdoor heritage states, they're very well aware.
Right.
Even if they don't participate themselves, they understand that their constituents do. But it's not the case across the board, right? I think a lot of it depends on some rural versus urban differences or some of that stuff. But there are some really good advocates for hunters and anglers in government, and that's a great thing. And we try to work with those guys as much as possible to advance the issues that we think matters for hunters.
Is there any standouts out there that's like, this guy gets it, or this congresswoman or man gets it?
There are. I'm not going to pick sides right now.
You're not going to pick sides? Exactly. And I'm sure it's on both sides of the aisle at times, right?
Yeah. Well, you could go look, on our website on the congressionalsportsman.org. We have a caucus leadership, right?
Yeah.
And that leadership, House of Representatives, and we have leadership in every single state. There's always a member from both parties that is represented in that leadership, and every one of those guys, for the most part, is a true hunter and angler. They get out there and they get after it, and so we lean on those guys to go work with their peers that may not be as well versed on the issues as what it is. And in fairness, my job for the organization is really working with industry partners and helping raise the money. The policy staff that we have, they're really the true core of our organization and doing the work behind the scenes. So some of them are walking around the room today, and it's awesome to see those guys at work and the relationships that they've built to improve hunting and angling.
Yeah,
so
you guys do a fantastic job, and like I said, it's one missing element. When we think about the hunting industry or the shooting industry, we think about a bow company. We might think of a camouflage company. I was just talking with John Barrett with Havalon Knives. You might think of a knife that you use, but you don't think about who is out there working to protect. I mean, you see all these situations, like even out in Colorado in the wolf situation and stuff. I mean, these guys, they're there in every situation to kind of help, really selling common sense logic.
Yeah.
And sometimes where it gets lost in the abyss. I would imagine.
I don't know what common sense is.
Dealing with what you've had to deal with, I can only imagine. Yes, sir.
But I think it's we've never taken our eyes off of our mission, and we do. You mentioned Colorado, big ballot initiative that hunters and anglers won. First one that I think hunters and anglers have won in almost 30 years. Because since I think 1992, if it's gone on a ballot, the hunters and anglers have lost, and we won one this year, and that was awesome. And the state of Florida got the right to hunt and fish added to their constitution, which has happened in some other states, historically. But that was a big win on behalf of Sportsmen. We were very involved with that, with some partner organizations as well. So
that's huge wins.
Yeah,
I mean, that's huge wins, and there's not many people out there at that level fighting for it. Like I said, sometimes it's just over people's head. I mean, even me, I go back and I had some conversations with some different people around that represent what y'all do, and I'm almost like feel guilty, like, oh my God, maybe I need to be. Of course, I would probably get in trouble though if I went. It's like, get that Waddell out of this.
No, you need the authenticity.
I would love that.
You need the authenticity.
Yeah.
Because if people don't care about it, I don't care how you look at it, right? The hunters and anglers are always going to be the minority.
Right.
We're a small percentage, speaking of the population. What matters the most is how, not anti-hunters and anglers, but non-hunters and anglers, just the general population views it. So be a responsible sportsman, stay within your bag limits and, treat other people with respect. Wipe the blood off the tailgate and put the tailgate up. Just simple stuff, right?
Little things.
I think our ability to hunt and fish in public perception of, there's our legal right to do it, and then there's our social right to do it.
Correct.
And our social right to be able to continue to do the things we love is going to be dependent on how the middle of America and the population views us. And if we're responsible and we're good stewards and we give back to conservation, we're going to be fine for a long time to come.
Yeah.
But if we don't treat the rest of the world that way, it can have some negative consequences.
That's a great point, and absolutely, I believe in that same way. It's just respect. It's like in America, and if you look at across the board, you can be whoever you want to be. You can have any kind of life. You can come from any culture. You can, it doesn't matter. And I think that's kind of the whole argument, that whether you're left-leaning or even conservative, more leaning, it's like, hey, man, do what you want, but you don't have to be disrespectful to me when I see this in public. And I think it does go for hunters. You're right. There is a respect issue. You don't have to flaunt or be, have blood and death in the forefront to make a point. It's okay. Yeah, you properly take a buck, he's tagged right, meat for the family, or a trophy on the wall. There's nothing wrong with that. But that goes with any lifestyle. I think nobody wants anything crammed down their throat in a disrespectful way to how their family might, just trying to live their life, everyday life,
Sure. I've been guilty. So
I have too. I have. I was speaking to myself.
Yeah,
I was preaching
too.
to myself.
I've only been at CSF about 2.5 years, but when I start realizing the impacts of some of the things I did before I started here, I'm like, I probably wouldn't have done that way at that time. But, it really... Our ability to continue to do what we want to do, and I'm talking super long term, is dependent on how the non-hunting world views us, not the anti-hunters. We'll leave that.
I agree. I agree.
We ain't ever going to fix that.
Never going to fix that.
Our side and that side is battling over the middle of the pack, and right now, most non-hunters and anglers have a very favorable view of the way hunters and anglers approach it. As long as we maintain that as a community, I think we'll be good on the on the political side of it. So
I agree. I agree with you on that too, Kevin. You can't fix the non-hunting side of it when it gets to the reality. The only thing that fixes them or makes them look a little deeper into our culture is when they went through COVID and maybe they went to go buy some chicken breast and like, there's none. Oh, maybe I need to learn to hunt a squirrel.
Or the cost of it with these,
or the
cost of chicken these days.
Yeah. How from a public, I know we hear this is obviously SHOT Show, industry show. Is there any way that the public, just your average hunter, can support CSF? Or is it more of an industry regulated thing?
You know, we have some events. They're smaller events, and we have a sporting society. Now it's got a little bit of a higher barrier to entry than maybe your normal kind of membership. But the biggest thing that you can do is kind of log on to our website and kind of keep up with what we're working on. And
is that CSF.org or is
CongressionalSportsmen.org?
CongressionalSportsmen.org.
And you can see what's going on in your state. You can track your state. You can look at what's going on in Washington. And when these things pop up, we feel like we do a pretty good job of keeping people notified. And then you can start to get involved and really learning and absorbing that information and being articulated within the outdoor community or your friends at your hunting camp. Like that's as important as sending in a check. Although I don't mind the checks every now
absolutely.
and then.
Hey, it takes money to fight the fight. Hey,
yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. So,
Kevin, I can't thank you enough, man. Like I said, thanks for bringing more awareness to what you guys are doing. Congressional Sportsmen does an amazing job. You know, you guys have been around ever since I've been in this industry, and y'all sometimes fight a fight that a lot of times the public don't know about, and you worry. You see these bills, some that pass, not so much in the anglers or hunters area, and I would say there would be no wins if it wasn't for organizations like y'all at least bringing a sense of logic and understanding to those of us, which I think we're setting at 13, 14 million hunters. What's the latest?
I saw the thing this morning right at 14 million hunters.
So at 14 million hunters. So you guys are and fishermen, I don't even know. There's a lot of fishermen.
50, 60 million.
50, 60 million. So yeah, I would say most all the fishermen are the hunters, probably are fishermen. So you're talking 40, 50 million people y'all represent. And so many times we get left out of the fight to have a chance to even go to vote on a certain thing. And so you guys are out there fighting that fight. So Kevin Perry, everybody, thank y'all for coming.
Thank you for being a great ambassador.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks.